What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we are here with Benji of Skindred. Thank you so much for your time today. Great to finally be able to have the opportunity to chat with you.
It's an honor for me to be here. Thank you very much for being interested. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So Roots Rock Riot, we're finally releasing it on vinyl. Super stoked that this is people can finally hold this in their hands. I want you to take me back to 2007 when this came out. So at the time, I'm in middle school. I'm 13 years old. I want to know, what was Roots Rock Riot all about? How did this album come to be back in the day?
Well, we had real good radio success with Nobody, which was on Babylon. And then it was time, we did some great tours. We met some great bands in the States. We toured all over the world. And then it was time for a new album. So we went into the studio in Florida. We wrote this bunch of stuff in the UK first before we went into Florida. Then we went into the studio and we started recording the album. And we just wanted to make the most aggressive, punk rock reggae album that we could make, you know what I mean? Something which was pushing the boundaries. And with songs like, Rat Race. I mean, for me, that's the ultimate punk rock reggae song. If you know that song, when the guys came up with a riff for that, and I started writing the lyrics and stuff, and it just came into place. But the best thing about recording in the States was we was with a guy, I can't remember his name, but he's done some huge albums. I think it was named Matt Squire. We went in the studio with Matt Squire in Florida, sticky, horrible Florida. Went down there, and I think we created something that, 20 years later, we're still going, so it must have been, and there ain't many bands that can say they got 8 albums out there,
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is because I feel like this album is just as good now as especially in the times that we're living in. It's the time for punk rock. It's the time for aggression. Do you look back at this album now with a bit of a different perspective than when you first made it back in the day?
It's funny because that was so long ago that I was a different person. The things that I thought, the way I acted, I think I was in my mid-30s. I'm 50 odd now. Not that I'm less punk rock or I got less attitude. I got more attitude, but it's more controlled now.
Yeah.
That's what I've. And then with that album, it was like letting a dog off the lead. It's like having a junkyard dog, and just saying go. That dog goes crazy, and that's what it was like. We had the opportunity to come over to the States to record the album, and with songs like Rat Race and Trouble. We really kicked up a stink. A lot of people, even yourself, being in middle school when it came out, you was on it, and we were honored to accept you into the club too. It was cool.
It was an honor to be in it, and I've always thought that Skindred's music, it does. There's no denying that there's multiple inspirations from reggae to punk to metal to rock. Is it fair to say that you and everybody in Skindred has always had many different inspirations and just try to fuse them together?
Definitely. I mean, when I was a little kid, I don't know if you ever heard of a UK band called The Specials.
Yeah.
No, The Specials, I must have been about 11. I was sat at home, and there used to be a TV show called The Old Grey Whistle Test. And my family, they like James Brown, Motown, all that stuff, but they also like the reggae stuff. And my father had a lot of old reggae records and a lot of ska. And I was sat home watching the Old Grey Whistle Test, and all of a sudden this band came on, and they're a mixed race band. There's some black guys and there's some white guys, and they're playing my father's record collection with a punk rock attitude. And I sat at home as a kid on the settee going, I want to do that. I want to do that with them guys. I want to be in that. I want to be doing that. I want to be sending that message, because they had a positive message. They were multicultural, and I grew up in a very multicultural area. It wasn't about the color of your skin; it was about your attitude and the way you were, and that's why I was so attracted to a band like The Specials, and that's what I always wanted to do. I just wanted to be in a band that told the truth about society, told the truth about how they feel and the neighborhood that they live in, and I just think that was the catalyst that caught me on fire.
Yeah,
watching The Specials back then.
What I've noticed is because I feel like that especially Roots Rock Riot, I've played this to people who listen to Disturbed, but I also played this to my friends in the New York City hardcore scene who like Agnostic Front and Cro-Mags. Yeah. So I've always said that Roots Rock Riot is the album that if you're with a group of many different people and you can't decide what to listen to, just put that album on, because that is the album that brings everyone.
Yeah, but what's really cool? You mentioned Disturbed, you mentioned the Cro-Mags, and I've had the two singers from them bands come up to me at different times and say, dude, your album is the shit, So we are definitely a melting pot band, and we are the band that you put on when you got a room full of different people, you know.
Yeah. And that's what I think is so great about Skindred, is that it's heavy music that brings people together. I feel like your music is the sound of unity.
I've never, you know, we write some new songs now, and especially with what's going on in the States and all over the world, I think it's like when I listen to the Roots Rock Riot, it could have been written now. You know, lyrically, it could have been written now. Trouble's what you want, then you're gonna get it. Rat Race, all these different songs. And I've always been as a lyricist, I've always written about issues that affect me. You know, like racial. But as a black man, I know that I've been privileged because of rock and roll. You know, I haven't been treated the same as my friends because of rock and roll. Yeah, I get discriminated, but it's not as much as some would get discriminated. And instead of getting all mad and crazy, I just put it into pen and paper and make sure I put it down. And that's what I did. A lot of the songs on Roots Rock Riot was about that. It's about unity. It's about like people living together, and you know.
Yeah, and I've noticed that, like, you know, with this album, there were always, like, different vibes behind it. Like, opening up with Roots Rock Riot, I mean, that's a banger if I've ever heard one. Like, you know, like, that's Murder Should Be Legal when you listen to that song.
I like that part, yeah.
But then
Roots Rock Riot, for me, is like, I don't know, I mean, it's funny because we wrote, when we were writing them, what we were writing for, we wasn't writing a record to like, oh, we need a record to get on the radio. We were thinking about what can set the pit off the most.
Yeah.
What is to make kids fucking go crazy when they get in the pit, you know? And that's what everything on that album is. It's not geared towards radio as such, because we never been a radio band, you know. I mean, we're never gonna write stuff like Aerosmith, and which is like gonna be classic rock. We're never gonna do that. But what we can do is take a room like of 50 kids or 200 kids and go. And at the time, we were playing in front of 50 and 200 kids, you know, all over the UK. And that's where we were driven to write the song. To write the songs to get the pit going off, you know, and that's why I think that's why it sounds so angst.
Yeah, and to be a lyricist, because the lyrics I feel like drive, you know, are just as important as the music for Skindred. Like, have you always needed to hear the music to come up with the lyrics, or would you say that maybe your lyrics influence the sound as well?
I write a lot of words down. I wouldn't call them poems, just words. I write words down, and sometimes, you know, I'll hear a piece of music and I'll look at my lyric book. And I've written a line down, and I've called the music that piece of music, which has no name. I've named it this, and there's no lyrics there yet. You know, so then it inspires me to keep it going. Because I think when you come up with titles, whether it's because a lot of people ask me, what can I call my band, dude? So, you know, you keep writing these names down, and that's what I've done over the years. And sometimes the guys in the band will give me a black piece of music and just say, we don't even know what this is called, and I'll name it something just to store on my computer. And I don't know, I mean, you know, Axis of Evil or something like that. And that'll just because I've called it that, it'll inspire me to write about that. But there's other times when I have lyrics that I want to put down and songs that I've already written. And I sing a lot of melodies into my phone, you know, a lot of melodies. I mean, we've been writing since last March. And at the moment, we're on 28 songs and we're still writing.
Wow.
You know, that's for the new stuff. But yeah, it's definitely something that I think it can be inspired either way, from the top or the tail.
Yeah. Have you ever had like the best lyrics ever, but then they're always like one syllable over every arrangement?
I do it all the time. You know, and you know, I mean, I don't look at myself. I mean, I just want to make sure that my lyrics encourage people to come together, uplift the downtrodden, uplift those who are being bullied. That's what I'm about, you know. Yeah. So, but when I'm writing, I don't like rhyming. I'll make words up, you know. Because you know, the good thing about being a lyricist, you have poetic license. You know what I mean? You can make car and alter ego rhyme. You know, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, there's no rule books. You know, and if there was a rule book, I'd have thrown it up and burned it a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to heavy metal lyrics, you could just, 1 minute we're burning the Bible, and then the next minute we're burning the dictionary. So
well, that's it. See, that's it. Yeah, and that's the way it is. I mean, like, it's an art form, and you should never try to like put a cap on it. I mean, you know, there's a lot of new bands coming out, and you see them, and they say, oh, they sound just like Pantera, but they're doing their thing. They need to get off the ground, you know. And I think, you know, when you start out, you gotta have someone you look up to and go, oh, that's what I want to sound like. But then over time, you develop your own sound, you develop your own energy, you know, and people gravitate to that.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you're working on some new music now. Did maybe like revisiting Roots Rock Riot and people putting this back into people's hands again? Do you think that the new music can maybe be influenced by that in a way?
No, no. I think once that's done, it's done. But one thing I will say, the other day, they said there was a couple of tracks that we recorded during Roots Rock Riot. You know, when you do 15 songs, but then there's only going to be 13 on the record or something. But there was a song called "The Crime" that they add into the record now. It's a crime, and I listened to that the other day, and I said, why wasn't this a single? It's like, but at the time you're blinded by label bullshit, blah blah blah. So, but when you listen to it in the cold light of day, and you go, this is not on the album. Why wasn't this on the album? There's no reason, but I think you get carried away with the lead single and all that rubbish. So yeah, so it's just crazy that. All this time, and one of the most important reasons for releasing Roots Rock Riot on vinyl is because I want it on vinyl. I never had it,
Yeah. So it's mainly for you more than the fans?
Yeah, it's first in the band before anybody else. I always say to people say to me, I'm your biggest fan. I said, nah, mate, I'm my biggest fan, dude. I'm the band's biggest fan.
Well, you can't go wrong with that. It's always good to, if you're not going to like the music yourself, you can't expect anybody else to like it, so.
Well, I mean, look, some of them DJs, I know DJs who play dance music and they hate that stuff. But there's so much money in there, they'll play what the fuck. They'll play it just to get paid, And I thank God that I discovered rock music. I discovered metal music on my own. I grew up listening to a lot of ska, a lot of reggae. And then we signed to a record label called Earache. My old band signed to Earache. And through Earache, that's when I started getting on stage and seeing bands like Pantera, seeing like Corrosion of Conformity and all these different bands that I was seeing and going, wow, they're cool shit. That's cool shit. Like, so we were like an alternative British band, but then we sort of said, you know what, let's get some horns up and make some noise.
Yeah.
That's where we just embraced the metal scene. And funnily enough, like I said before, the metal scene embraced us. I mean, we're always the weird kids on at the festivals. We're always the strange guys, but we always get the crowd bouncing the craziest.
Yeah. Well,
or if not as crazy as anybody getting them.
Well, I could see you honestly playing like I'll see you could play with a band as heavy as Cannibal Corpse or Morbid Angel, but then like do a show with a band like 3 Days Grace or Shinedown. You know what I mean?
We've done that. It's crazy because we went out. We did it in the same year. We went out with Disturbed. We went out with another band, Zebrahead. And they're two different worlds, but we went down just as good with each audience. So we're stuck in the middle, we're stuck in the middle. Yeah. But it's a good place to be. I mean, it's nice to know that, you can get to people from different genres digging it. And that's why sometimes people find common ground because they don't like this band, they don't like it, but they both like Skindred. It's strange.
Yeah, you're bridging the gap. And as a fan of Skindred, I feel like if you played me 30 seconds of a song, right, I would be able to tell that that's off of Babylon, that's off of Roots Rock Riot, that's off of Kill the Power, and even your recent record, Big Things. It's fair to say you've always taken a new approach to every album, right?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think. I mean, listen. I don't want to hear no jungle remixes of AC/DC, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear dubstep remixes of that stuff or Metallica. But we're the sort of band we can afford to do what we want. I think, without trying to blow my own trumpet, I think the sound of my voice. When you hear my voice, you say that's the guy from Skindred.
Yeah.
Even when I guest on other people's songs, my voice is sort of glue, But one thing we've done with the band, we've never gone, this is what we're going to do and we're going to sound like this. This is what we should sound like. Because I don't think that's right. I don't think we should sound like anything. What I think we should be doing is what we enjoy. And if that means doing like a dubstep thing or a punk rock thing, it doesn't matter. I'm under the influence of this. By any means necessary, we will make this crowd rock. Because before we had a record band, we're a live act. And people always say to me, they love the record, but when they seen the live act, that's when when Skindred really came into play for them.
Yeah, and trying new things and experimenting with your style, that's almost like part of the songwriting process. It's not like you have a formula that you try to stick with, right?
No, we haven't got a formula. I think we love reggae music and we love punk rock and we love metal. So within that genre, we can do anything we want. We're not trapped to do anything. I mean, look, when I went in the studio and on one of our first albums, Nobody was a song that went to radio in the States. Now, I remember the guy who produced that album, he was producing some great big albums at the time, blah, 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 this one, that one, some really huge albums. And he said to me, I'm not going to record this song because I'll leave it to the engineer because I don't think this one's going to be it. You know, it's a bit strange, it's a bit hardcore, it's a bit reggae, and I'm not going to record this. And he didn't. And he recorded all the other songs. And you know what song, when the album went to radio, it was the weird song that the guy wouldn't record that they chose and that charted. You know, so you can't really judge it, you know, and people don't always know what they're talking about.
Yeah, of course. And going back to what you said about your voice, I couldn't agree with you more, because even when I'm listening to Skindred or when I listen to your collaborations with Sumo Psycho or Bullet for My Valentine, like, I was like, yep, that's Benji. It didn't need to say featuring Benji Webbe, you know?
That's it. That's what I do. That's what I do. Like even when I was working with Soulfly back in the day on their first record, you know what I mean? And at that time, I was working with Robert from Metallica on a project called Mass Mental at the same time. And, you know, it's like everyone was saying, well, it's you, man. It's you. That's how you sound.
Yeah.
But it's good to have a stamp. It's good to have a stamp.
Yeah, it's great to have a stamp, and it's great to be able to hear your voice, and, like, it doesn't have to say featuring Benji from Skindred.
Yeah, I'm glad you can leave that off, you know, but people will know that, yeah.
Does working with other artists, though, maybe open up your mind to maybe bringing in new stuff to Skindred as well, or is that a separate art?
Because, you know, what I find is, like, with Skindred, I like what the guys do. You know, for me, the bass player does a lot of the stuff in the programming when we're writing and stuff. And for me, I think he's phenomenal. And in all honesty, no matter where I go and when I work with other people, I always think, nah, these guys can't touch Skindred. You know, so it's like, you know what I mean? I've always got that in my head. So there's nothing that I could take from somebody else and go, I'm taking that back to us. Because I think what we're doing is great already. It ain't broke. Like they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. In order to get, like, that inspiration to write, like, to feel that creative drive, does inspiration, like, come out of nowhere, or do you need to, like, be in a certain place to get...
You know, I can be sat down saying to my girlfriend, I'm fucking bored, man, watching TV, and it'll just hit me. And I'm upstairs for the next 3 hours sweating like crazy in my little studio, you know, singing some song or writing some lyrics or doing some stuff, you know, because I think it's important to... I don't put a cap on the way I feel. I think the best places to write is like... in the last year or so, I really have taken the time just to write the truth of what I really feel, whether it be about mental illness or being broke or whatever it may be, you know. And I think inspiration hits me in the strangest of places. I can be in the mall or I can be in the store, you know, getting some meat on a Sunday, and it'll just hit me and I'll go home and that's when the lyrics just pour out, you know. I get a lot of melodies constantly. I'm very, very fortunate to actually get a lot of melodies, you know, all the time. It's like some people say I'm waiting for inspiration. I ain't gonna wait for that. I get it constantly.
Yeah, I'd imagine inspiration strikes at very inconvenient times too, right?
Yeah, and you know, you know what? Sometimes I'll be in a party or something. Well, we used to go to parties when people used to party, right?
Yeah.
I'll be somewhere, and I'll hear a song which I know, but then another melody will come into my head, and I'll have to run and try to block it out so I can't hear the melody, so I can put the lyrics down or the melody down. You know, yeah. Inspiration of me, it gets me all the time, which is good.
You ready for the most difficult question of the whole interview?
Hit me.
How do you know when a song is done?
Well, you don't, do you?
Nah, I get that all the time.
I don't think you don't know when a song is done. I mean, it's like, how many endings can a song have? You know, how many endings can a movie have? I think songs are never finished, but you just got to stop.
Yeah, it's a discipline.
Yeah, you just got to go, you know what, it ends, and then you think to yourself, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. No, I don't think you can just end. I don't think, you know, a song's never done. I don't think it's ever done, but you got to stop.
That's fair enough. And what it is too, because you mentioned in the interview that, like, you are a live band and, like, you know, that's what you live off of, the live energy and the unity. But, you know, when you're in a studio, it's a more confined, more static environment. Do you find it a little harder when you're recording in a vocal booth to kind of capture that live energy in a way?
Well, you know, I stopped recording in a vocal booth a while back now because I always think it's bullshit going in that little room, segregate. I like to go in the room with all the guys in the band, stick on a pair of headphones, and be in the control tower, just doing it there. Yeah. You know, everybody shut the fuck up and let me do it, like, you know what I mean? But I don't like being isolated, because when I'm singing these songs on especially on Roots Rock Riot, I want to go in the control room with the microphone and record it right there. Me and the engineer or the producer, a couple of the guys from the band, you know. So I even then, it's not like I want it to always feel live. It's like I don't do take after take after take. I want to sing the song in its entirety. You know, because a lot of people do take after take or just do little snippets.
Yeah.
But I want to learn the song and sing the song from beginning to end, so the passion is there throughout the song.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm running out of breath, it's real. You know, and I think that's important that you deliver a live performance, even on the record.
I never understood how some vocalists, like, they like to do one verse and then take a break and then come back to it. Like that seems so difficult.
I think if you're doing if you're doing a guitar ballady kind of thing, fair enough. But when it's an action-packed song, which is going to get the pit going, I want to do it in one take if I can learn it. You know what I mean? And then go back and fill in the gaps. But initially, I want to lay it down in one. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think really to capture that live energy, especially with your style. Like, there's actually a couple of bands. There's a band here in New York City that actually kind of has a similar thing called Rebelmatic, and they have like a sort of like a punk rock, a little bit of like hip hop combined with thrash metal, and like
cool.
Yeah, they're amazing. They just signed a Taking Back Sundays label, and fucking great band. Rebelmatic, check them out. But shameless plug in the local scene. But
Hey, listen, bro. You gotta big up your own, man. You gotta big up your own. I'm glad you told me about him.
Yeah, and I love their music, but I like seeing them live more than I like simply listening to them, because when I'm live, all hell breaks loose, and I feel like that's what a Skindred show is. Like, I'm watching you on YouTube, and it's insane.
Yeah, it is definitely. It is about the. I mean, listen. I love recording, but I think rock and roll started in small little clubs up and down the world. And that's the way rock and roll will always be to me. You know, I mean, you know, you can listen to a great record, but you can't beat a great concert. I mean, I always say to people, you know what? You can watch this, or you can download this, and you can download this show on YouTube, blah blah blah. But the energy that we get when we're together in a room rocking out with you guys, and I always look at it like this: without the crowd, we're just four assholes in rehearsal. You know, simple as that. You know?
That should be your slogan.
It's true, bro. That's all we are. We just because we don't play like when we play the songs that you're gonna watch on tour. We don't play them with the same passion that we just sit there and just sing the song and go through it. But as soon as you guys turn up as in the crowd, that's when the magic comes. That's when the power comes. You know. That's when because I consider myself slightly a front man who loves to show off. You know, so. But showing off to them three, it don't mean shit, you know, because they see me show off 1,000 times. But you stick some people in the room, and that's when the peacock feathers come out. That's
the best way of putting it too.
That's that, because I'm a ham bro. I'll ham it up all day long. You know what I mean? I'm a ham bro, and I always have. That's why being in school is like I knew the best thing for me about school was making my class laugh.
Oh, you were the class clown?
Well, I don't know if I was I guess that we had a few in our class, but I became the professional class clown, if that's the best way to look at it, you know. But I actually pursued it, as in I wasn't going to get a job and work in a store where I knew that it wasn't. If I had to go and do an audition, I couldn't do because I couldn't get the time off work. So I never really wanted that kind of lifestyle, you know. I just wanted to be that guy on stage, you know, and. Like I said, people said to me, "How did you do it?" I don't even know. It just fell. It just started to happen.
Yeah.
You know, because I wouldn't be conventional as a kid growing up. This being that front man, I've always been that front man. And even friends who know me like 30, 40 years, they say, "You know what? You ain't no different. You're the same kid in school. You're the same fucking crazy Benji in school." You know, so I guess that's just.
To quote Lemmy, if you think you're too old to rock and roll, that means you are. You don't outgrow this shit. It's in your blood.
Dude, age. For me, listen, bro. For me, I think when I think of, because I know I'm 53, right, and I know the best years in front of me. I know the best performance I ain't seen yet. The best energy. I got no intention of slowing down in any shape or form unless my body betrays me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's it. Because I feel like I'm writing songs now which are going to affect the youth. It's a legacy that you want to leave, not just like. You know, money's good. You know, to have money's good, but I prefer for me to have money than money to have me.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it, because that will keep me punk rock. That will keep my attitude, you know, grind. It will keep me on the grind. You know, it'll keep me humbled.
That's definitely the best way of putting it, because a lot of people are saying because of the pandemic and everything like that, oh, rock and roll is dead, concerts will never come back. I'm like, you really think so? Because I'm pretty sure that there were plenty of rock stars and plenty of musicians who were told to no. So what did they do? They rented somebody else's basement. They found a burned out warehouse. They found a fucking a sewer and played it.
You're gonna do it. You're gonna listen. Rock and roll will never die. It's always gonna be here in some way. In some format, even if I don't want to play online. I wouldn't want to play like a concert online. I think for me, I love watching other acts on, but I wouldn't want to do that. So I'm waiting, because I'm a firm believer, and this is just a time where we need to stop and consider the earth. That's how I'm looking at it. But there will be a time when we won't have to wear fucking masks. We won't have to do that again. But at the moment, we have to in order to get through, Definitely.
And what I was saying is, I think there's going to be like a new earth crisis coming out of this, where instead of straight edge and hardcore, or straight edge and vegan, it's going to be socially distanced and masked wearing, like that sort of.
That's definitely going to happen. Yeah. People's going to get right into it.
Yep. This is going to be in 10 years from now, what started off as a terrible tragedy and a terrible time of turmoil is going to be a gimmick.
Of course. Someone's going to use it. Yeah. That's the way it goes, Listen, I remember when I first went to Japan and I seen people with masks on. I said, I got to take that back, man. And I still got the same a drawer full of masks that I brought back 10 years ago. And no one only Michael Jackson ever wore them. And that was a gimmick.
Yeah. So there you go. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time. It's an honor to finally be able to talk to you. Is there just anything else that you would like to promote with Roots Rock Riot coming out on vinyl?
I just want you to know that during the pandemic, I released, because I said to my band members, look, guys, let's put some covers out. And they were like, yeah, okay. And I was like, fuck you, man, you're all taking too long. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I took the liberty of thinking of all my favorite classic rock songs, like let me think now: Motorhead, Ace of Spades, David Bowie, Life on Mars, T-Rex, Get It On, Thin Lizzy, The Boys Are Back in Town. So I took them and I did like cheekily enough, I did ska versions of all them songs. So if any of you guys want to check it out, if you go to if you type in Benji Webbe Isolation Project 2020. There's a whole album of stuff, of covers that I did last year, and people are digging them. But the best thing about the whole album is I actually got, I feel cool about this, Phil Campbell from Motorhead to play on my ska cover of I know, right?
That's awesome.
To play ska cover of Ace of Spades, and it's cool as fuck. Get on Spotify right now and check it out.
And with that,
Benji Isolation, check it out.
And without giving too much away, can we be expecting a follow-up to Big Things fairly soon as well?
Brother, we I think, look, I think personally, what we've spoke about is this: until we can tour, it's not going to be worth us releasing nothing. I know that, what they call Dave Grohl's band released their album the other day. There's a few. We're just going to chill. We've got like 28 songs, and we've got even more. So when this thing calms down and we can tour, we're gonna drop our 8th album,
and it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it.
It's gonna be worth it. Some of the stuff we've been writing, I've been inspired lyrically by some of the stuff I've been seeing over by you guys. Because I always look at it like this: it's not like when America's going through it, we're going through it too. Because we're just we're like family. We're just across the pond, but we're like family. So we feel the pain you guys are feeling too, big time. From the racial situations to the Trump situations to all that shit, we go through it with you. Believe you me, I watch CNN more than I watch BBC. You know what I'm saying? I watch Fox and all that shit. Because I want to be up on what's going on, and I don't want to be left behind. Yeah. Mentally, because it's so easy to be stuck in your isolation and in your COVID world, and not reach out. But I find myself involving myself in all these different issues that's going on in the world. Yeah. Well, because I want to be part of the solving it, not the problem.
And us metalheads, we're all feeling the pain, like, musicians not being able to tour. We feel the pain of not being able to be there with you and feel that camaraderie and that unity. But
it's good that even doing this is good, because I know that there's people out there still want to hear rock. They still want to rock, and that's good. That's good, Alex. Thank you so much.
We want to rock and we want to riot. I had to put that pun in there somewhere. But thank you so much. Everybody, Benji of Skindred, Roots Rock Riot, coming out on vinyl. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We will see you next time.